It's time now for an in-depth look at the markets this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Hwang Seiwoon, Research Fellow at the Korea Capital Market Institute. Dr. Hwang, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for inviting me today.
Well, the U.S. and China held a new round of trade talks last week at the vice minister level to prepare for higher-level talks to come early next month. No major outcomes as far as we know. Are things breaking down again, or what's the mood among investors?
China delegation had canceled a visit to U.S. farms in Montana, and the officials were headed back to China earlier than planned. President Donald Trump had said China would increase its purchases of U.S. agricultural products as part of a bilateral trade deal. But the cancellation may be seen by some investors as a sign the two countries are no closer to reaching a trade deal. Earlier, deputy trade negotiators from the U.S. and China resumed face-to-face talks for the first time in almost 2 months. The deputy-level trade talks are expected to help lay the groundwork for high-level negotiations early next month. This briefly lifted investors' sentiment around the trade talks. However, investors were rattled by news on Friday that Chinese officials unexpectedly canceled a visit to U.S. farms last weekend, following their 2 days of negotiations in Washington. The cancellation had hit investors' sentiment and could be a major drag on the global stock markets in the near term.
Well, it was a drag on Friday. U.S. stocks were down at the end of the week after the talks. It looks like Korean stocks, too, are down to start the week.
U.S. stocks fell Friday on news that Chinese officials were cutting short their visit to the U.S., dampening hope around the trade negotiations between the two countries. The major indexes also snapped a 3-week winning streak. The Dow and Nasdaq fell 1.1% and 0.7% respectively for the week. The S&P 500 lost 0.5% for the week as well. In recent weeks, economic stimulus around the world has helped to ease fears about slowing global growth. Monetary easing by the U.S. Federal Reserve last week and by the European Central Bank 2 weeks ago appears to have improved market sentiment. However, the cancellation lifted worries on the trade disputes again. Most Asian shares markets slipped on Monday as investors waited for more clarity on the Sino-U.S. trade talks after recent negotiations. South Korea's Kospi moved a little, while Japan's Nikkei gained 0.16%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng slipped by 0.71% today.
Well, now looking ahead this week, we have President Moon meeting President Trump in New York. That and what else should we be watching this week?
President Moon Jae-in arrived in New York on Sunday to attend the UN General Assembly and hold a summit with U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of an unexpected resumption of nuclear talks between Washington and Pyongyang. Moon plans to use the talks with Trump set for Monday and his attendance at the UN session to help revitalize the peace and denuclearization process with North Korea and broaden international support for it, which could increase the possibility for North and South economic cooperation. Investors will pay attention to the negotiation process between the U.S. and China this week long. As the investor sentiment is not strong enough, any negative signal could damage the global stock market in the near term. On September 23rd, an information vendor markets September PMIs on manufacturing and service sector will be released. In addition, on 24th, September Consumer Confidence Index will be released.
All right, Dr. Hwang, we'll be watching for those data. That's where we'll have to leave it today, though. Thanks, as always, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.